We're starting today with a perfect 10, a CVSS 10.0 in a connector tool that basically hands over the keys to the kingdom if you haven't patched yet.
I'm Morgan, and that's Alex. It's a busy morning for critical flaws and some major law enforcement moves. Let's break it down.
All right, let's look at that 10.0 first. It's CVE 2026-23800. This is an incorrect privilege assignment vulnerability in something called modular DS modular connector. Specifically, it affects versions 2.5.2 up to 2.6.0.
Modular DS... Wait, I've seen them in enterprise data stacks. These connectors are usually the glue between different databases or services, right? If you can escalate privileges there, you're not just hitting one app, you're potentially hitting everything that connector touches.
Exactly. When a vulnerability gets a 10.0, it usually means it's trivial to exploit, and the impact is total. In this case, an attacker can jump from a low-level account to full administrative control. If this connector is sitting in the middle of your data pipeline, that's game over for data integrity.
It's that plumbing problem again. We spend so much time securing the front door that we forget about the pipes connecting the rooms. If you're running modular DS, you need to be checking those version numbers immediately.
Moving on to the AI side of a house, because even the tools we use to build AI aren't safe. There's a critical flaw in MCPJam Inspector, which is a local-first development platform for MCP servers. This is CVE 2026-23744, and it's sitting at a 9.8.
MCP. That's the Model Context Protocol, right? The standard Anthropic pushed out to help AI models talk to local data? I've been seeing a lot of developers spinning up MCP servers lately to give Claude or other models access to their local files.
Spot on. And MCPJam Inspector is a popular way to test those servers. The problem is that versions 1.4.2 and earlier are vulnerable to remote code execution. The gotcha here is that by default, the inspector listens on 0.0.0.0 instead of just the local loopback address.
Oh, that's a classic mistake. So instead of only talking to the developer's own machine, it's listening to the whole network? If I'm an attacker on the same network, or if that machine is exposed, I can just send a crafted HTTP request and trigger the installation of a malicious MCP server?
That's the one. It leads straight to RCE. The fix is out in version 1.4.3, which changes that default behavior. But for a lot of devs who just npm install and start running things, this is a massive blind spot.
It reminds me of the early days of Redis or MongoDB, where everything was open by default because it's just for dev. But in the AI world, things move so fast that dev becomes production before anyone checks the config.
One more for the WordPress crowd. And this one is nasty for e-commerce. It's CVE 2025-10484. It affects a plugin called Registration and Login with Mobile Phone Number for WooCommerce.
WooCommerce, so we're talking about online stores. What's the flaw?
Authentication bypass. It's a 9.8. Basically, the plugin doesn't properly verify a user's identity before logging them in through a specific function, the FMA-LWP-set-session-php-fun function. An unauthenticated attacker can use this to log in as any user, including the site administrator, without ever needing a password.
Wait, any user? So I could just become the admin of a web store? That's a nightmare for PCI compliance and customer data. It's basically an open backdoor for every site using this plugin up to version 1.3.1.
Exactly. If you're running a shop and using mobile login, you need to check this right now. Authentication bypasses in WordPress are a dime a dozen, but when they hit WooCommerce plugins, the financial stakes are much higher.
All right, let's shift gears to some news. We've got a major update on the ransomware front. Law enforcement is finally putting names and faces to the Black Basta group.
This is a big win. German and Ukrainian authorities identified 2 Ukrainians suspected of working for Black Basta, but the headline is the alleged leader. A 35-year-old Russian national named Oleg Evgenyevich Nefedov has been added to the EU's most wanted list and hit with an Interpol red notice.
Black Basta has been a thorn in everyone's side for a couple of years now. They're that Russia-linked RAAS group that seems to hit everything from healthcare to critical infrastructure. Seeing Nefedov on a red notice is significant. Though I wonder if it actually changes anything if he stays in Russia.
It limits his world. He can't travel to any country that honors Interpol notices without risking extradition. It also sends a message to the affiliates. We're seeing more of these naming and shaming operations lately, like what we saw with Lockbit's leadership.
Speaking of hackers getting a taste of their own medicine, did you see the Steel C story? Researchers actually used an XSS flaw to hack the malware's own control panels.
I love this one. Steel C is an info stealer, right? The operators use a web-based panel to manage the stolen data. Researchers found a cross-site scripting flaw in that panel. They were able to hijack the attacker's sessions and actually gather intel on the hacker's own hardware and locations.
It's poetic. The people stealing everyone else's credentials couldn't even secure their own web app. It just goes to show that even the most sophisticated malware groups often have terrible OPSEC when it comes to their internal tools.
It's a reminder that code is code. If you write a web panel, you're subject to the same OWASP top 10 risks as everyone else, even if you're a criminal.
Switching to something that's going to affect a lot of people's daily workflows. OpenAI is changing the deal for ChatGPT users. They're rolling out ads.
Yeah, they announced that logged-in adult US users on the free tier and the new ChatGPT Go tier will start seeing ads in the coming weeks. The Go tier is that new $8 a month subscription they're rolling out globally.
Wait, so even if you pay $8 for Go, you still get ads? That's a bold move. They're saying the Go plan gives you 10 times more messages than the free version, but the ads are still there. They did emphasize that your data and conversations are protected and never sold to advertisers. But you know people are going to be skeptical.
They have to. The compute costs for these models are astronomical. But from a security and privacy perspective, it adds another layer of tracking. Even if they aren't selling the conversation, the ad delivery system itself is another piece of code running in your session.
It's the, if you're not paying, you're the product mantra. But now it's, even if you're paying a little, you're still kind of the product. I'll be curious to see if this drives more enterprise users toward the higher tier ad-free plans just to keep the interface clean and avoid any third-party ad tech.
And finally, a bit of a wild story from the courts. A man from Tennessee, Nicholas Moore, just pleaded guilty to hacking the U.S. Supreme Court's filing system.
The Supreme Court? That's not a small target. What was he after?
It looks like he was repeatedly hitting their filing system. But he didn't stop there. He also admitted to accessing systems belonging to AmeriCorps and the Department of Veterans Affairs. It's a reminder that even the highest institutions aren't immune to a determined individual.
It's a heavy list of targets. Nicholas Moore is looking at some serious time for that. It's one thing to hit a random company, but the VA and the Supreme Court? That's asking for the full weight of the DOJ.
Definitely. All right, that's the big stuff for today. If you're an admin, prioritize that modular DS patch for CVE 2026-23800. That 10.0 is the one that will ruin your weekend.
Your daily AI-powered security briefing. If this saved you time, subscribe. We're here every morning.
Stay patched, stay paranoid.